Hello everybody, welcome back to my Let's Play series going through Transport Fever 2. This is episode 9, and as we start out, we're currently sat across the banks of the river looking over into Coventry. We can see our shipyard and Coventry port in the distance over the river, and we can just see a train, if you can just see it there, has just arrived at Coventry station to pick up some passengers to transport them across our map. In our last episode, we linked up a steel mill in Bridgewater. A machines factory in Bridgewater from a steel mill that we have in Ripley, and we started a train running that route. So let's go ahead, bring up the user interface, and we shall sweep on by down to where we were last time, and we'll see how things are looking down here. Now I can't remember if I assigned a train. Let's check. So if we just bring open the steel freight line, yes, we do have a train on there, and he is currently waiting for a free path, as this train was just holding him up in the distance. That's now heading through the valley. However, he's just started on his way, and he'll come down here, and did I make sure he was on the correct? Yes. As you can see, the grey stroke silver line identifier is on the correct platform. They're not sharing any platforms, which is what we want to avoid, so there are no unnecessary delays for any of our trains. We still have the expenditure HUD icons activated, so we'll disable them now. So he is on his way. I think I'm going to go ahead at this point and just put in an extra set of signals around about here for this line, because today I'm hoping to get another train assigned to this coal line. We have one at the moment, which is this one just here, heading into Ripley Steel Mill to drop off a load of coal. And we also have two iron ore trains on this line. They've just passed each other just outside of the coal mine. Obviously this steel train is also on the line at the moment, but that is only for access purposes, and once he gets into the steel mill, he will then spend the rest of his life on this side of the platform, so there'll be no interaction between him and the trains that are bringing in the raw resources. So, how much is it going to cost me to duplicate the coal train? Let's just check that now. It will cost just under 3.5 million. At the minute I have just under 1.75 million, so we need to wait a little while to accumulate the money. While we do that, let's take a look at the situation around other parts of our network. Bridgewater, the public transport is still quite popular. However, there's no technical overcrowding as of yet, so we can leave that for the time being. Morley is doing okay. We have a bit of a bunch up here in our food delivery wagons. I assume that is just because of the time interval between each ship arriving in the Morley port to drop off new loads of food to be distributed. Everything else down there looks okay. In Coventry, we're developing a nice bustling little city. There's no overcrowding issues that I can see on any of our public transport. And lastly, we have Bridport. We have some busy stops, but I don't think they're overcrowded yet. No, they are not. And it's bus service 1, the only bus service we have in Bridport. We only have the 3 vehicles. I think it's high time then that we go ahead and double them up and have 6 vehicles running through Bridport. This should keep these numbers down and get people moving quicker. So, after we have duplicated our coal train, what's the next thing we want to do? To me, it's got to be activating the supply of lumber into Bridgewater Machines Factory. We have a sawmill just here. We have a forest here. It's probably too far to justify a road transport system. However, given the fact that the sawmill is located on the river bank, there is a potential to use ships to bring in the logs. We could also use this this forest here as well. And what we could do is simply run a line out, perhaps up this way, around the outskirts of Bridgewater. And then it'll be quite tight because of the curvature, but we could connect it into this station so it is all linked up. And then run a line off of this little section here, down to the river across and have a station here. However, for variety's sake, I think I am just going to go ahead and use a shipping route, and we'll run it and supply it from this forest here, which is Bridgewater Forest number 2. And we can have the port here. The trucks can come down this access road and into the port, and then it's only a short route for those guys to supply lumber to the port. However, first of all, we do currently have the money to duplicate our coal train, so let's open him up. That's the iron ore train. There's a coal train. So if we go ahead now and duplicate him, make sure we change their names now that we have multiple on the line, just so we are able to tell at a glance which is which, not that it really makes that much difference. Coventry to Ripley 02. There we go, so that is that little goal achieved. Now we can carry on with activating the sawmill and bringing the planks into Bridgewater Machines Factory, which will kick in production there because they will have steel and planks being supplied. So let's go ahead, get us a cargo harbour, which we can't afford just yet, but it shouldn't take too long for the money to build back up to a point where we can afford it. I think we have him right about here, just like so. He's not encroaching too far into the river. That's Bridgewater Port, that's a fine name. Yes, he's not encroaching too far into the river, so he's not going to impact these ships that are running between Morley and Coventry. So now we need to connect him with an access road to ensure he can get supply. That's got a collision. Something like that should be okay, I believe. Yes, that'll work just fine for me. And then we want to connect him to the forest up there. Now I'm wondering, is it worthwhile either tunnelling under or bridging over this little road here, so the two lines don't intersect and there is no delay in terms of different vehicles having to give way as they are passing. Let's see if we could achieve that. We don't need to start the bridge just quite so early, however, but we can begin raising upwards. Perhaps drop it down a touch more. Fortunately, we can't confirm this just yet because we're once again back into the negative. However, it doesn't take long for the money to build back up again, so it's not going to be too much of a wait. Okay, so we now have the money. It took quite a bit longer than I had hoped it would have taken, but I will have cut that out for convenience for you guys, so you wouldn't have had to suffer the long wait like I had to. Okay, now we can build the bridge. We go... No. Perhaps if we just raise up a little and then give it an arched back. What sort of bridge is... Oh, that's not a bad looking bridge. Maybe arch it a little higher. There we go. Something like that will do quite nicely. And then from there we can connect to the road that's connected to the forest. We're going to need truck depot for the goods to be loaded onto for transportation, so we'll put him just there. And then down at the port we want a drop-off point for the logs to be delivered. Let's just change his name to Bridgewater Forest number 2. It's not the best name, I might change it at some point. That bridge looks a little... Oh, in fact, that looks very odd. I think I'm going to rework that. Let me just pause it for a second there. Let's see now, what can we do? Streets. We keep him flat. level. Will that give me enough room to build a bridge over? Let's see. Yes, it will. That's a nice enough bridge. Let's see what other designs we have. No, not that one. No, that's not too bad. How does it look? That'll do. I'm happy with that. Looks better than it did before anyway. So back to what we were doing. Unpause the game. We want to set up a new line from Bridgewater Forest number 2 to Queen Street. Fully loaded, transporting nothing but logs. Not that you have much choice, but as always I like to do it anyway. And this will be logging haulage, and that's just for Bridgewater. There we go. We will need a road depot to supply the trucks to the line. So let's buy some of those. Let's go for... let's mix it up a bit. Let's go for the American horse-drawn carriage with side stakes. And I'm going to go straight off the bat with 20 of them. Colour them the same colour as the line that they're running on and set them on their way. Now this is not going to produce yet because there is no demand at the port for the logs. So they're just going to come here and wait. A similar setup over here. Obviously we cannot do that just yet as we're once again back into negative funds. So we do have ships passing this way, so we want to keep him as close to the coast as we can, so there's no it's not intruding on the path that the line that our ships are taking. We'll just set the speed to ×4 for a few moments while we get the money. We're looking at around $750,000 to build this port, so we'll give it a few moments. Okay, we'll just pause it quickly. I've accumulated enough money to build the port here, and as you can see we've also had some new unlocks, including a new ship, so we may have to look whether it's worth changing our existing ships to that one. We should do that in a few moments. In the meantime, what we want to do is ensure we have a connection between the new port that we've just placed and the sawmill just here. I don't think we're going to need to run any trucks between the two. They should be close enough to meet up. Yes, they are. Let's change that to Bridgewater Sawmill Port. So now we could set up a line between the two ports, so we can go ahead and do that to transport the logs. So you want to be fully loaded when you leave the first port with full of logs, and you want to unload the logs when you arrive in Bridgewater Sawmill Port. And this is logging, shipping, all the ings, and that again is just sticking within Bridgewater. So that's that taken care of. Let's just slow the game back down there. I think I'm also going to rename this to Bridgewater Forest Port, just so it's abundantly clear what each port is responsible for covering. So next thing we need to do is buy ourselves some ships. Can't afford them at the minute, but while we wait we can have a look at the new ship that we just unlocked, which was the Dunara Castle. It is a larger ship in terms of capacity. It's also a faster ship than the Wilhelm 1, which was only 14. However, it is the same speed as the Rigi or the Rigi, which is also 16. However, this one does have higher power, so it gets up to speed faster. Plus, obviously, it can carry more. So at some point in the near future, we will want to upgrade our current ships to the Dunara Castle ships that are now available to us. However, we can't do that yet. They cost just under 800,000 a piece, just over $750,000, which we don't have. And first of all, before we even look to upgrade the existing fleet, I'd really like to get some ships onto this line itself. That's the priority right now. There we go, we have enough. We've got 1.8 million. That's not what I wanted. I wanted the shipyard. Could we afford 2 of them? Yes, we can. We absolutely can. Fill them brown. I think it's only changed the paint job on the funnel. That's okay. And they want to go onto the logging shipping line that runs for Bridgewater. Let's watch them as they come out then. Give him a few minutes to... I guess, is he waiting for him to pass? No, okay, he's, okay, yep, that's probably okay. We'll not question it. There we go, there's our first Dunara Castle of our fleet. And he'll head down to Bridgewater Forest Port to pick up a full load of logs. There comes the twin sister ship. He's just had his after section completely obliterated there by the roller shutter door on the dry dock. Shipyard rather, it's not a dry dock. Now this should have, and indeed it has, triggered production of the logs, which has in turn enabled our new wagon trains to start moving, transporting them down the hill, over the bridge and to the port itself. So that is that section taken care of. What we're going to need to do now, we can afford it, is put in a truck station outside of the sawmill itself. Around about there should do. And we also want a drop-off point outside the machinery factory just there. If we rename that to Bridgewater Sawmills, just so we know exactly what he is servicing. Get him running there. Planks are roughly that colour, that's what I used last time I believe anyway. And you want to load planks only, and you're unloading planks only and doing nothing else over there. So that's that taken care of. Let's just, not logging, this is lumber or planks. We'll go for, I think we went for planks previously, so we'll keep the same convention going. And this is haulage. And once again, it stays within the confines of Bridgewater. Yes, it was planks we used, so yes, there we go. Naturally, we're also going to need a road depot in this area. Maybe a nice riverside road depot, so the gentlemen, well the ladies and the gentlemen I should say, who work in this building, can maybe sit out back, just out here, have their lunch, have their tea break, have their smoke breaks, and just take in a beautiful view. Anyway, sidetracked. What we want to do now is get some cargo wagons running. I think this time we'll go for the European flatbed. It does carry planks. And here we're going to want around about, I'm going to go ahead and say 25 of them. We can afford 25 straight away. Excellent. Give them the appropriate paint job and get them started. Obviously they're not going to be transporting anything for a while, as they'll be waiting on the first delivery of logs to arrive from Bridgewater Forest. The logs have started accumulating. We've got 25, which is 1/4 of a load of the capacity of our new Dunara Castles. I think the next thing we want to start doing is upgrading our existing fleet to Dunara Castles as well, and replacing the old Willems and Regi ships that we currently have in service. Let's go over here. So our steel freight train has made a delivery. That netted us just under 750,000 for a full load. We may want to have a second train running this line at some point in the future, but it's not immediately urgent, so we can wait there. So yeah, there's the steel that he dropped off. Soon enough he shall start then receiving planks also from here, and that will start the production of machines which we can take into Stoke, Ripley and potentially Bridport, unless we have, oh, we do have a machinery factory up here, but I believe this one will service just Weybridge and Quintrell Downs, and this Bridport will be supplied entirely by Bridgewater Machinery Factory, as I do believe it's closer. Yes, it absolutely is closer. So we'll have to consider the logistics of getting the machinery from Bridgewater up to Bridport, whether we run the entire line back this way and up there, Obviously that will save us money because we wouldn't have to lay much, if any, additional tracks. However, we could come out this way, around the side, along, we could either connect in here or bypass it entirely, bridge over this little junction section here, and then connect in down here. That will limit any exposure to our other trains that are on the other lines, and it should reduce any congestion and slow down that may occur from having the lines oversaturated with too many trains. However, that's not going to be for a good while yet, I shouldn't imagine. The first place that looks likely to receive the machinery will either be Ripley, just over the other side of the mountains, or even Stoke, just here. Obviously, it all depends, or it'll be done in conjunction, I should say, with whichever of the two cities we want to link into our passenger network first. And I think just for convenience and how much easier it's going to be, it will be Stoke, as it's a straight shot down from Bridgewater. Whereas if we went from Bridgewater to Ripley, we're looking at passing through mountains, which is going to involve tunnels and quite a snaking sort of track. So we'll aim for Stoke initially. So that means the first place he will be supplying is also Stoke. And to achieve that, again, nice and simple, he could just branch off down here, skirt along the edge of these two industries here, and we can have a freight station on the outskirts of Stoke with a delivery setup, as we tend to do, to supply the machines into Stoke where they need to be. So for the time being, there's not much else we can do. We can't afford to do any of that, as we're just hovering around £1 million, and it's going to cost us a damn sight more than that to implement that vision. So for the time being, it's going to be a case of wait around while we get some money. Before we even start that anyway, I am going to want to be upgrading our shipping fleet to the higher capacity Dunara Castle ships that we've just unlocked, and that is also going to cost a small fortune to do that. In fact, let's see how much it would cost us if we check the brick shipping line, for example, where we have 6 of the ships. To replace them all with Dunara Castles, it's going to cost us just under 4.5 million. Likewise for the food shipping ships, that's right, where we have 4 ships on the line. To replace them all, that is going to cost us just over 2.2 million. So neither of them are feasible or doable right now. I don't think there's any other upgrades in terms of vehicles that we want to do at the moment. I do believe we unlocked a new train as well, a new locomotive. Indeed we did, the BR53 Produce G3. However, I don't see him ever seeing active service on our network, unless we used him as on a small shunting service, for example, to haul the logging trains. But given the fact our Baldwins are doing a sterling job of that themselves, I don't see the need to replace them at this point in time. Right, we now have just over 2 million. We did have just over 3 million, which would have been enough to upgrade the ships on the food shipping line. However, oh, now we can. It's just increased a little bit, so we'll go ahead and make that purchase now. So we now have Dunara Castles running on our food shipping line. So they now have an increased carry capacity, which should increase the, well, it will increase the rate of deliveries in terms of total per year that come through Morley Port, which in turn is going to increase how much food Morley actually receives. It does need 110 per year at the minute, that's its demand. And as it stands, it is receiving 87, and the food, whether this has just been guesstimated and updated after we upgraded the ships, I'm not sure, but as it stands, it's at 123. So the ships are providing enough. It is our food delivery trucks which are not, so we may need a few extra to be added on that line. Morley Station is quite busy with 60 people waiting. Our capacity is only 56. So unfortunately, some passengers are going to have to wait for the next train to arrive to continue their journey or to start their journey. One thing it may be worth considering at this point is double tracking these two bridges, just to ensure there's never any trains waiting to cross this single section of track, which should increase our frequency if don't do that, which will increase our frequency as the trains are no longer having to wait at this signal here if this section of track is already occupied. How much would it cost to achieve that? Let's just see. Well, what we can do, we can lay that section there. It's not connected to anything yet, so it's not going to impact anything. And we can lay that section there. What? Ah, okay. So doing that has made this section of river no longer navigable. We take that back then. I think this means we're going to have to replace the entire bridge, or no, I think we're going to have to leave just this bridge here as a single track bridge. So we can leave this set up here, and then over this side of the bridge we can have a section of track that forms a little junction for the trains to cross the river like that, so that's okay. This section did stay navigable. I think they are going to go through this larger archway here. So for this, what we can do is if we quickly delete that signal just there, yes, it was auto-saving. That should now, you want to, there you go. And then we can delete that crossing section there, that is no longer required. And what we can do now is add a few signals on this section, unpause the game, say one there and one there. We've got a block there, we've got one there, and if we put one just on the edge of this section of bridge here, and then we want one here, so the trains will come as far as here and wait for clearance. It's a shame we can't double track the entire bridge. I suppose we could if we were to rebuild the bridge, but it's not critical. I think just having a small section of single track is obviously going to be a lot better than having the whole section here single tracked. So we'll see how that affects things. The only ships now we need to upgrade are the ships running our brick line. Again, to upgrade them, I believe it cost around about 4 million, which we currently don't have. We only have 1.5. Yep, 4.5. So we need about £3 million extra to what we have at the minute to be able to achieve that. So we have 18 people still remaining after this train departed the station. Fortunately, we have one not too far away on his way in, so those 18 people aren't going to be waiting around too long. How are the bus services in Morley doing? Are they getting the people away from the platforms quick enough? Well, we already have a lot of buses on this line. However, we did unlock the new American stagecoach, I believe. So let's, if we just perform a comparison between the two. Passengers, so that's the stagecoaches we're running at the moment. They're the ones we have unlocked. They're faster, lower emissions and higher capacity. Therefore, it's a no-brainer to go ahead and replace the buses that we have in Morley and our other cities with the new American stagecoaches. So that's bus service 1 in Morley done. Bus service number 2 is done. Do the ones in Bridgewater need replacing? Let's go and have a look. I think we'll do them anyway. It might not be as urgent as it was in Morley, but it's not going to harm. We do have 2 bus services in Bridgewater, so we'll replace both of them while we are here. Like so. And then we need to check Bridport, Coventry, and the intercity line between those 2. Let's check it here, shall we? Nope, we need to click on that. Bus service 1 for Coventry, the intracity bus. That's replaced. Bus service number 2 for Coventry is Oh no, we only had one inner city bus, didn't we? That's right. We never set up a second clockwise loop. Okay. So, the only thing left then is the intercity bus. Now, these are still proving very popular. We have 14 waiting in Coventry and a lot, 54, waiting in Bridport. So we definitely want to go ahead and replace those as well. 600,000 to replace a lot, so let's do that. Now, I don't think the buses in Bridport, stagecoaches I should say, in Bridport are doing a sterling job as they are, so we'll not invest the money in them at this point. I am not too sure about that landscape in there. Henry's General Store. Hopefully there's no subsidence, otherwise our poor little residents here. Who lives here? Albert Wood. You may find yourself in a bit of trouble. Likewise, our harness makers could also find themselves having to deal with an insurance claim. Moving on then. Again, we're after laying out all the money to upgrade most of our stagecoaches. We now find ourselves short on money once again, which again is going to hamstring our expansion efforts for a short while, but that's okay. The next thing I want to do, as I've mentioned several times now, and you're probably sick of me hearing me say it, is to upgrade the brick shipping fleets. Boats, ships. Get the words out correctly. Do we have any logging ships on their way yet? They are food, you can tell by the colour of the funnel. That's why I take the time to... Oh, here we go, here's one. He has a full load. Oh, you were coming to Bridgeport first, okay. So just had a slight interruption there. I believe I was looking at these shipping ships, and commenting on the fact that he'd gone straight to the sawmill rather than stopping off at the forest. So if I just reverse his direction and he can head back to the forest where we already have more than enough to fill him up. We have 215, obviously the capacity is 100, so we can fill both ships. Which to me says we can also add extra ships on this line at some point, but I want to do that after. Where are you going now? I don't know what was wrong with going straight forwards, but apparently you want to do a sort of slalom down the river. Whatever floats your boat, budum-tish. Yes, as I was saying, I want to upgrade these ships before I do anything else to increase the throughput of the bricks from Morley to Coventry. How are we doing in Coventry? The station is very busy. And I believe the line is still making us money. Yes, sometimes it doesn't, or when it does, sometimes it's only a slim margin. But we do have some years where we have a decent profit as well. So on balance, it's not doing too badly, I suppose. Did we ever get... Yes, we did get a second coal train, didn't we? Yes, because they're passing each other right now. They do look very sleek in their black liveries. I do like that. How is our steel train doing? He's on his way with a load, just going through the tunnel under the mountain there, past the farm. Waiting for him to come back. We have 26 units of steel, so that's going to obviously increase as the production increases as well. And it's also going to increase once we start supplying the the planks over here, and it starts consuming the steel. Likewise, when we start delivering the machines down to Stoke, it's also going to pull in a greater demand from the steel mill. So we'll see more steel piling up here, and we'll probably justify having 2 trains run this little route here. So what I'm going to do now is probably put in a little jump cut. I'm going to accelerate time a bit. I'll drop the state speed down to a quarter while I do this, just so I can get enough money in the bank to upgrade these ships running the brick freight line between Morley and Coventry. So I'll leave it here for a moment, and I'll pick it back up when we have the money and when I've upgraded and replaced the ships to the, was it Dunara Castle? Something like that. So, back in a second. Okay, so I'm back. As it stands right now, I do have enough money to replace them all, and it wasn't Dunara Castle, it was a Dunara Castle. So let's go ahead and replace those ships. That's going to give us more capacity, which logically follows is going to give us more money. Has our first logging ship dropped off his full load? I believe he has. Yes, there he is. Ship number 12. At some point I will go through and rename them. I'll probably do it off camera. So how much did he make dropping off those logs? Just over 500,000. So that's excellent. That in turn has kicked in this length of the supply chain, and our road vehicles are taking the planks through to the machines factory, which is then going to start producing, or at least consuming them, even if it doesn't start producing machines yet, because we don't have anything on the network that is calling for the machines to be delivered. However, now that we've upgraded all the ships, which is what I wanted to do, we can make a start at some point in the near future running a freight line down into Stoke to deliver the machines, which will switch on, if you will, this factory here and start consumption. That's obviously going to have a knock-on effect here. We're going to increase our output here and our demand for coal and iron, although we do have a big stockpile of iron as it stands. On the platform we have 68 units of steel awaiting our train, which is now on his way back. He has a capacity of 84, so it shouldn't be too much waiting around for him to set off with a full load. So I believe that's a decent enough place to call an end to this episode. This has been episode 9. I have been Andrew. Hopefully soon we will kickstart episode 10, in which episode we will be running the freight line down to Stoke and starting our machines delivery into Stoke, and then we'll look at connecting Stoke also with a passenger line from this station here in Bridgewater, and that will increase. It won't increase. It'll start generating passengers and more money, and we'll start just growing and growing and growing. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the episode. All that remains for me to say right now is take care of yourselves, guys. Stay safe, and I shall see you later.